All right, so welcome to episode 3. We got 4 players today, hoping for kind of a bigger, more awesome game. We're going to introduce our 2 new players. Paige, why don't you go ahead and just say whatever's important to you and your character name and give a little description.
Cool. My name is Paige. My pronouns for myself and my character are she, her. I am playing an Aarakocra wizard named Orethi. Orethi is yellow with blue markings and wears simple wizard robes. And they will probably have a silly voice. So I hope you like her.
All right, awesome. And Josh, why don't you go ahead and do the same things? Something, whatever's important to you, and then your character description and stuff.
Sure. Thanks, Jay. My name's Josh. The character I'm playing today is Coil, who is a Warforged. Although I've kind of even taken some liberties with that. I'm kind of playing him more as just sort of a mech or a robot kind of thing. And yeah, I think that's it.
And yeah.
Awesome. All right. Sounds good. Oh, yes, Dan.
It hurts my feelings that you don't remember that my character died last time, so I have a new one.
Oh, right. Why don't you tell everyone about your new character?
So I have a barbarian dwarf that's a pilgrim. So he's actually seen some of the outside world and then made his way to the stronghold and arrived there as a place of safety.
Awesome. And how long have you lived here in the town?
Probably about 2 years. Like, I've established myself, but I also have knowledge of some other distant lands.
It'd be fantastic if it was 11 minutes.
Could I see that picture you drew? That would give me an idea, and you can tell me what makes sense for like how far I could have traveled before it would be unrealistic.
Yeah, sure. Let's do that. So moving you over to the sort of page here. This is kind of just a basic map that I drew. This is where the town is that everyone's staying in, Gathal. And then here's the Wizard's Tower, which is about 3 days away. So imagine sort of that as like a cone 3 days away. If you want to be from the like ocean part, this is like here is an archipelago, and down here is like a plainsy type part.
There's no other like mountainy areas or caves or anything.
You could be from like this direction up here if you'd like, and that would just be like a really treacherous mountain climb. Which I mean, I guess you could do if you're a dwarf, or if you want, you could have just like tunneled in. You know what I mean? Like you could have just tunneled in accidentally or something.
I'll just be from a separate kind of strongholdy type spot that maybe isn't as big and well known from maybe the south here.
Okay, sure.
If that's all right.
How upset would they be if someone just like sort of burrowed into their?
I mean, they probably wouldn't like it. I mean, I think once they found out that it wasn't Drow, they'd be sort of relieved, because that's usually what happens.
Still makes another vulnerable spot, though.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was wondering about.
Yeah. All right. Cool. So I will say that one thing that since you traveled from down here, is when you travel this way, like this on the outside. Over here is just a big gaping hole in the ground that goes down basically as far as you can see, or here people have dropped stuff in it. It just seems to go down forever as far as people know.
Define big hole.
I would say like 100 yards.
It's pretty big.
Why don't we do that as a radius there, and then it just goes down, just like, and it's straight. It's like it was cut into the ground.
So 200 feet in diameter.
Yeah.
No.
200 yards in diameter.
600 feet. Yeah, it's like 600 feet.
Yeah.
200 yards in diameter. So
it is a big hole.
Cool.
All right.
So it's
like something out of The Forest. If you ever played that game, that's pretty cool.
Jason, what? And maybe you haven't thought about this yet, and that's fine.
Mhm.
Where was Forge home?
Basically, that could be from basically anywhere else in the world. So the idea is that
Okay.
you got misplaced here into the mountains during the rearranging, which happened sort of on that day where everything progressed 200 years. Basically,
Okay.
the Earth got rearranged in some way. We don't know exactly why. So you could have actually been from, the other side of the world and then just got placed in here underground.
And the locals have never heard of a place called Forge Home?
I would say no.
Okay.
Hmm.
All right. Cool. So, why don't we start in a deliberation room between Keen and Relaine, and we will start there. So, Keen says, "Well, I hope that we're able to lead another mission today. I have some adventurers who are ready to go. I think that they might be able to be an asset to you. Um, I, I think that we're making preparations to establish a lumber mill, but that's still a couple of days away. So if you could, while you're out today, scout maybe a good place to make that lumber mill, since you have been exploring the forest and getting rid of the traps. I figured that might be a good place to start. Um,
Um,
oh,
I mean, not to interrupt, but generally, wouldn't it be a good idea to not build our lumber mill directly in the forest? Instead, maybe build it at the edge of the forest?
yes, yeah, we could build it at the we could build it at the edge. Maybe you could find a place just in over here, just at the edge of the forest. That might be good, or just make the forest safer for us. However.
So what we really have working against us here is that probably the easiest way and the most common way of moving lumber is over water. But since we're essentially going to be uphill from the forest, there's no way to efficiently do that. So we're going to have to do everything by road, which means we need to build roads as well as.
Yes, we have plenty of builders and plenty of manpower. We just need safety while they do it. So something.
Okay, sorry, I need to get the character, but excellent, excellent, of course. Question. These people that are coming with me, did you expect me to lead them? The way you were talking made it sound like you expected me to lead them.
Well, we're gonna bring him in, and we'll decide that however you'd like. So he sort of waves his hand, and then we'll start with Gravy enters the room. Can you give us an entry and sort of like a little bit of an intro?
Because I was gonna say I have no desire to be in charge. Anyway, go ahead.
Gravy.
Yeah. Hey Dan.
What's up?
Where he waves you in to sort of meet the group.
Good day, man. Okay. Hey, just real quick.
Yep.
I've been here for a couple years.
Yep.
Is it okay if I have some friends? Maybe a girlfriend?
Yep, for sure.
Can it be Shanley?
I like the idea of it. Like your other character was hitting on this person that your new character is definitely dating.
Sure.
All right, just a second, babe. I gotta go do some adult stuff.
All right, watch your hand covering your mouth when you talk.
All right, so I
Friggin' Shanley.
And I have a loincloth that I've been wearing since I left like the southern part of the mountain, and
Hold on a sec.
axe on my back. That's about it.
Okay. All right. All right.
All right.
So I don't know if we're gonna cut out what just happened or not. It was pretty hilarious, but it's definitely awkward. So why don't we start in again with Orethi introducing herself to the other two?
Okay. So into the room walks Orethi, wearing a backpack which sits kind of awkwardly around their floppy wings. They have both hands and wings, I think is how our Kokoro work. So it's kind of
Now, are the
awkward.
hands on the wings, or are there
No,
arms
they're
and
separate.
wings?
I think they have both arms and wings, is
Yeah, I
my
think
understanding of
so.
how our Kokoro work.
Yeah, I have no idea what this is, so I'm
It's
So
a,
our,
it's a bird
I'm a
person.
bird
Let
person.
me find it for you.
Well, I mean, I gathered that much, but I've never. Can you type it out in
Yes.
Is it spelled Arakoa?
No.
Because that's something, or is that something
That's
else?
something else.
Okay.
I
This
believe
is-
it's like this.
This is the
Yeah.
image that they have here in
There you go.
the
Yeah, I'm just gonna Google it, Jay.
Wildmount. Okay.
So it's also from Tomb of Annihilation.
I don't have
I
So,
think they're in,
anyway.
they're in Dark Sun too. Pretty, like
Yeah.
they might even be a playable race in Dark Sun. I think.
So anyway, awkwardly sitting against their wings is a backpack stuffed with wizardy scrolls and other arcane symbols. They have an orb attached to a belt. So she walks in and she's like, "Hi, I hear you wanted people to go up to the surface. I'd like to help." And then the wings kind of flutter. "I think I could be of use if you need a scout."
I think is Mayor McGee's gonna say something there.
We lost your video, Donnie.
Did you now?
Yeah.
Huh.
Reconnect.
Oh.
I can
One
come in too. While Donnie's logging back in.
I don't know why it closed. One sec.
So I'll barge in too. I'll push the door open too far and make it hit against the back wall, just because I'm kind of inconsiderate.
Alright,
And
works now.
my character's name is Gravy, and he's just kind of a burly dwarf. Just totes around a great axe and a loincloth.
Very cool. Excellent. Yeah.
Walks in, asks for how he can help.
Keen says to Orethi, there's been some magical things going on in the forest that they've been exploring just outside the town. I was hoping that you might be able to lend them a hand for that sort of thing. Gravy, we sent out some adventurers, and I think we need some muscle, you know. And then he says, and then your final member, and then he goes, Rico Strongrock, and then he sort of waves a dwarf in, and this dwarf seems like he's been sort of chastised, and brings out Coil. So Coil, why don't you introduce yourself?
So I lumber forward. I'm 6'3", and about 300 pounds, and I have this kind of metal shell, and in between the pieces of my armor, you can see kind of like flesh. I'm clearly some kind of magical creation, and I kind of lumber forward, and I say, "I am Coil. Please state your name. Comply shortly."
I am Bender. Please insert girder. And I just okay. So
Greetings to meet you, Bender.
no, I don't say that in game. So my name is Relaine. It'll sure to be mispronounced several times throughout the night, but that is my name, Relaine. My character is a rather tall tiefling, with dark tan skin and long black hair. I walk with a bit of a stoop. I have two spiraling horns that come back over the top of my skull, pointing back. And I'm generally very how do I put this? Ingratiating with everybody that I'm around. So, I just say, pleasure to meet you, Sir Coyle. My name is Relaine. I'll be happy to work with you. And you, what was your name? Gravy? Is it Gravy? Did he
That's
actually-
me.
Ah,
Great.
be nice to have someone with a little bit of been a little light on that in the last couple of adventures. I'm sorry.
That's what I do.
Yeah, excellent. And a feathery friend. This is new for me. A pleasure to meet you. I'm sure I have much to learn from you. Fellow practicer of the arcane arts, I see. Excellent.
Hmm. Yes. It's nice to meet you.
Great. So today, we as a group will be going on a scouting expedition. I don't know how much you all are familiar with trees.
I happen to have a great deal of experience and knowledge of the outdoors. I've traveled from afar.
Excellent.
My databanks carry little information on trees.
Well,
I think I'm supposed to have. I think I'm supposed to hang out in trees, but aren't a tremendous amount of them down here. But
Yeah, we can help make you a nest.
that sounds good.
well,
Side note: I am definitely the only Aarakocra in Gathol. Also, in comparison, much smaller than everyone else here, it seems. I'm about 5 feet tall, and my wingspan is probably about as large at full extension.
I think Dan is or Gravy is a
He's a dwarf, right?
So you might
I'm
need
about
him a
5.
little bit.
I'm
We might be
5'3".
about the same size then.
I'm tall, but I'm not big. Like I'm like slender. I'm very slender.
I'm
Yes, I have
rotund.
hollow bird bones.
All right.
Pleasure to meet you. I have very hollow bones.
I am also a wizard, which should tell you a lot about my skills
So
and lack thereof.
Well, I think that this mission might not necessarily please you that much because we're going to scout a place for a lumber mill where we'll be cutting down some trees.
As long as
But
there
maybe-
are some trees.
there'll be plenty of trees left.
As long as I get to fly, I'll probably be okay.
Yeah.
I seek knowledge of the outside world.
all right. So Keen hands each of you an amulet. Just puts it on you, or hands it to you as the case may be. And then he says, and then at the end he sort of comes to Coil and then looks at Rico Strongrock and he's like, and you may go. And remember, I told you to stop digging. And then he like sort of points, and then Rico does the sort of Charlie Brown walk out the door.
Nice.
Rico Strongrock. Jeez.
All right.
He is a friend of mine.
I seem to have some recollection of his character.
Hey, Coil, what can you define friend?
Friend is someone I know, someone I get along with. Gravy, you are my friend.
Give
Oh,
it
wow,
time.
that was easy. Hey, Coil, can I borrow some money?
I am sorry, I do not think that is wise.
I mean, we're friends now. I feel like I can rely on you for stuff.
Gravy, could I borrow some money?
Absolutely.
I hold out my hand.
I offer you, let me see,
Doesn't the person
10 gold.
Okay, I take the gold.
All right, buddy. Just remember, one day I might also need something from you. But we're friends, so I know I can trust you.
This will
Do
end
you-
well.
Have knowledge of the outside world, Gravy. You said you come from away.
Yes. I'm going to give him a bunch of information in as a descriptive fashion as I'm able to plot out stuff. And because of my background, I have like knowledge of land masses and geography and maps and that sort of thing. So
Can I step in for 2 seconds? As this starts to carry on, I'm gonna sort of just like start walking us towards the exit, but not interrupt your conversation. Just like, so that we're actually making progress while you're doing it.
Sure. So I just describe in detail using like how long it takes for me to travel, for distances, landmarks, those kinds of things, so that he'll have the same information that I have.
Okay. Gravy, why don't you recall to Coil your favorite part about the place that you came from was?
Oh, well, there was this gigantic hole right in the ground that we couldn't even see the bottom of, and there was this one day where I was fighting off some bandits and actually threw them into the hole.
Oh, great.
Yeah. Managed to tear some coins away from one of them. 10 gold pieces.
Fascinating.
Yeah, in a way, it's like it's blood money. Anyway, let's head down and make this lumber mill thing work.
My character really approves.
All right. Awesome. So,
Gravy, your story is causing me to reassess your threat level.
That's a good thing, but remember, we're friends. So this
Of
threat
course,
would be directed towards our enemies.
of course. Assessing threat level. Gravy is threat level 1.
I'm gonna prepare my spells real fast.
okay. So is there anything you'd like to do in Gathal before you leave?
Do we need to get you some reagents, or do you start with them? Like, do you
I
need
have all my
reagents?
necessary casting components, although
Yeah.
I think it should be. I think we should consider buying some string or chalk so that we can mark paths as we're going. So
Well, I
I'll
was
probably
going to
pick some of that up.
suggest that as a matter of course, because you're doing work for the city, that they should be paying for your reagents.
Well, I do have
to...
this. Holds up orb.
I actually think that would be a pretty neat.
What?
Most of my spells don't require anything overly specific at this point because, well, I'm not a master like the person who taught me. So right now, I think I'm okay.
All right, sounds good.
Hey, Coil,
Yes.
if you're injured, can I help you the way I'd be able to help another ally that's mortal?
That is an affirmative.
So, like physically, you'll bleed like someone else and require bandages, or you can be cured with spells.
That is an affirmative.
Very good.
Yeah, so at this level, most spells like don't require like overly complicated components, but if they cost like something worth 50 gold, we'll need to assess it at that point.
Yeah, usually the only spells that have like a super strict requirement are things that require either gemstones or like silver dust, and those are usually like 3rd level. So
Sounds good.
All right.
Because I'd hate to get out there and then it's like, I would cast spells, but
Nope.
I'm not that kind of dungeon master. You should not be that kind of dungeon master if you are doing that to your players.
Well, it depends. If you've agreed upon it at the beginning that you're gonna be strict about it, that's fine. But catching people in the middle, not so good.
Yeah.
So may I purchase some like chalk and string?
Yeah, you can purchase some chalk and string. That stuff's easy to get.
Okay. I have already like scrolls and ink and quills as part of my wizard supplies in my kit naturally from my background, but I will pick up those things so that we can mark our path.
Yeah, I also have a lot of those similarly.
Aretha gets visibly distracted by any particularly shiny objects as she is purchasing supplies, but manages to come back with some string and some, charcoal and chalk. Like, I'm ready.
All right, good to go.
Yeah, I think so. Can we make the safe assumption that in between any outings that I'm just resupplying my rations to at least 10 days?
Yep, absolutely.
You don't have to worry about that. I can always find food and water.
Good job.
So long as you're directly with me, that's a good thing.
I am directly with you.
Right,
And
but I
I'll
mean,
always be with you, Riley.
All right, cool. So, I've already described this to Dan and Donnie, but to Paige and Josh, you guys go through. So Gathal is built like a large spiral. So you just go around all the way up. Then at the very top, there's like a tunnel that leads underneath a bunch of like sort of tree roots. There's a dwarf that signs some symbols to open up the door. And then when you walk outside, you kind of see like 3 biomes in front of you, like a huge forest that's so densely covered, like the canopy so dense that it sort of blocks out the sun underneath it. And then on your left is like a sort of long rolling plains land, and then on the far right is a sort of like an island, a coast, like sort of archipelago kind of thing. Um, it's sort of the talk of the town as things have sort of come about. You've probably heard that things seem rearranged up here, like as though like a tile puzzle, like the earth was shifted around in some way. So there will be like rivers that don't have any water in them anymore, or like a path that just ends and then continues at a later time, or that you never see again, stuff like that.
Shall I fly up and get a sense of where we need to be going? Or do you have that covered, Gravy?
well, I actually have been in the direction that we're going.
Okay.
Before, so I can bring us at least to the edge of the woods. From there forward, it's going to be sort of up to the group which way we go, I think.
If you want to, you can fly and see if you can see anything that might be dangerous.
Yeah, that's worthwhile. Sure.
Just do some
Like,
reconnaissance.
almost as soon as you finish giving her permission, she is, like, in the air. Like, great! I have permission! Whap! And just, like, immediately flies up.
So it's probably been, like, this is probably one of your first times ever really sort of flying and stretching your wings. You fly up over here, over the forest, and you see that the forest is super dense. Like, it blocks out the sun, so you really can't see too much into it. You also realize that, like, when you're down in there, flying up, like, out of it will be very hard or hurtful if that's like a choice that you make to like just go out.
Jay, how far are you having her go from us? Because you said the forest was like 3 hours away from the cave.
She gets to pick that.
Yeah. So like she's just like flying up and then just looking. So
yeah, I just want to.
You can see that.
Well, you said when she went out over the forest. That's why I was asking. Like, if she's getting like, are you having her go far? Are you going far from us, or?
No.
Okay, she just seen it from.
I'm just gonna fly up. I'm gonna fly up and periscope around, basically.
Yeah,
like,
got it. Yeah,
fly up and make a little circle, and I'll come back. Whoop, and I land.
Cool.
And then I will relay to the group what I've just seen.
About what we expected from what we saw last. Well, I guess not we, because Dan's character is different. Yeah, it's a very thick forest.
It'll be thinner once we start logging.
Valid point. Okay, so
I guess lead the way.
Marching there.
All right. So you're uninterrupted when you make it to the edge of the forest. Do you want to continue in, or?
What sort of threats shall we find, Relaine?
So far, I've only traveled maybe a couple of hours into the forest at most, and kobolds. Do you have any knowledge of what a kobold is, or any concept?
Cobalt threat levels approximately 0.25.
Uh, Actually,
They challenge rating 1/4.
I think they're 1/8. Jason was. Oh, and I only know that because Jason was talking about it last
That
time.
would be funny.
So I think from here, if we're looking to establish a logging camp, we have one of two choices. We either look for a place not too far into the woods, that has an open area with some level ground, which might be difficult, or we walk along the perimeter of the woods and look for a place that has some level ground. And probably we want to be next to a river, not so much for transportation, but so that they can use a water wheel power for a sawmill. Thoughts?
If there are empty riverbeds we could use as the base for future, I guess, transportation, that might be worth looking into as well. You always
True.
shore them up and turn them into roads with less effort.
Do you?
Okay. All right.
Can we just make some kind of like group roll, maybe like a survival roll or a nature roll to determine like a good spot? You know, kind of have it be like a scouting thing, determine a good spot or the best spot we can find for a lumber mill.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can make a nature check.
That's what, wisdom?
It's an int skill, actually.
Is there is there, how did you want to do that? Did you want us all to roll nature, or should we choose one person and maybe have one person assist or something?
Yeah, so the two of you that want to make the nature check both roll, and what we'll do is we'll do it like advantage. So it's sort of like we'll take the higher of the two.
Okay. So maybe I someone else should probably roll this, not me. I do not know a lot about nature.
I don't specifically know about nature. I'm just relatively smart.
Yeah. So why don't you?
I think this is I don't know. This is more of a scouting situation than a basic
looking
nature
for,
knowledge situation.
We're looking for nature-based stuff, or I could see it even being a survival check, depending upon like what specifically we're looking for. But I think it makes sense.
Right, but
Oh shit!
I guess what I'm saying is having basic knowledge of nature is not going to help you find things while standing in one place.
Well,
think-
yeah, so this roll is going to represent
is-
you sort of tracking around and looking for things.
All right.
Okay.
I poke around and I get a 17. Do I find something suitable for a lumber mill?
All right. Yeah, so you do find a clearing here. We will say the lumber mill is like, or the best spot for a lumber mill is like right here-ish, sort of on the edge. Like, so this is like a river here, and this is sort of like on the edge of the forest here, and sort of leading into the plains lands.
Okay.
So you think that like if there comes a time when you do spread out down river here, it will make it much easier for you to go in that direction.
Does the river have actual water in it? Like, is it an active river or is it a dead river?
Yeah, that river is an actual river.
Okay, that seems great.
Yeah, I was dead. I died, but my other character found some like small streams when we were in the woods.
Would it be okay? So that's the best we got from the roll, I guess.
Well, no, we were allowed to have. Did we have 2 people roll for it?
Yeah, someone else can roll.
Yeah, I think. Isn't that what Relaine's roll was?
Oh, okay, yeah.
Oh, yeah, it was. Yeah. All right, cool.
Okay, may I do some investigation to see if there are signs of other people having been at the spot that we've scouted?
Yep, please do.
All right, cool. And I have a not natural 20.
Nice. So you see, so you're exploring, and then in the direction of the woods, you find like sort of a kobold's arm, like from the elbow down, just sort of laying there in the grass, and then
Like detached from the rest of a kobold?
yes, yeah, exactly, and so some blood trail leading into the forest.
Scared bird noises.
Can I maybe make a medicine check to see what happened to the arm? Like, identify maybe how it was ripped off or something?
Yep.
Come here. Come look at this arm. Nice job.
I don't know why it rolls twice.
So the reason why it rolls twice is it's automatically rolling if you have advantage or disadvantage. So you're always going to take the one towards the screen, unless you have advantage or disadvantage, then you pick.
Right. Sure.
All right. So you got an 18. Yeah. So you see some small claw marks on the arm, and you think that it maybe happened maybe 2 to 4 days ago, but you see some like on this side of the arm, like you see some like claw marks. They'd be pretty small. They're not. It's not like a tiger, but it's definitely some sort of smaller cat.
All right.
I was just wondering about if we follow this water upstream, if there's a way to access the energy from the water further away from the forest, but closer to where we live. At least to start, because it's like kind of a vulnerable structure by itself.
Yeah, you think it's actually like it wouldn't be like a ton like far. Like if you, let me try to do some drawing here.
Like if depending upon where the city is, how big it is, it might even exist like inside the mountain somewhere, like where it's coming from.
Yeah, I mean it's a little bit ways away from the city, but you could definitely like walk this line here, and then this line might be better. Yeah.
So could we build it, say, up here and still have enough energy to make it functional, and then have workers come down to the lumber, chop it down, collect the trees, and then use horses to bring them up here, or is that more work?
Yeah, you could put it up here, up in this area rather than down here. Yeah, both are good options.
The only benefit to having the sawing done before it's transported is that it's a lot easier to transport sawed lumber than it is to transport logs.
It's true.
But I mean, other than that, if it's not necessarily safe, I mean, it's probably a better. Though, I think the odds are is that a small hamlet is probably going to crop up around the lumber mill.
Well, you can have a horses drag lumber up onto like a platform and then roll it off onto carriages on either side.
Mm-hmm. Yep. No, it's totally doable. I like it. You had asked specifically if it's more work, and I said that's the only thing that's more work. But I think we're getting into the minor details of lumber milling on D&D.
Yep.
I don't think anybody really cares about that besides you and me. So, I'm for your plan for safety. That sounds like a good idea. I'm going to adjust my lumber mill location.
Okay.
Jason, is this like a stream or a river?
This is a pretty good river. Like it's like you guys could walk across it, but like it would take some time and a little bit of swimming. But it's a good river.
Would a boat work or no?
You probably wouldn't be necessary to get a full on boat.
Yes, but is a boat a functional option, or is it like this doesn't have this doesn't have sufficient depth for us to like sail in either direction?
Oh yeah, you couldn't sail on it, but you could get a rowboat, like a rowboat.
Okay. So
Or
like,
raft.
okay, yeah.
And
so
if I'm sorry, I don't mean to step on you. what they used to do when there's small rivers is you basically you create a line, you drag a big rope across,
Mhm.
and then you just basically have pull rafts where you keep a raft on either side, and you stand on it and you just essentially pull yourself across using the rope.
Some
Yeah.
Oregon Trail shit.
Yeah, right. I choose to cock the wagon and float across.
It's a thing.
Awesome.
I'm a little worried about this kobold arm.
It's not surprising, as I said, there's kobolds in the area.
Right, but things that eat kobolds might eat people who come up here to, cut trees.
Well, we're gonna have to have security in mind regardless. Maybe we should do a little bit of scouting in the surrounding forest and see if we can sort out what that is.
Yeah.
The
Once we
kobold.
destroy of the
The
natural
kobold.
away.
Sorry, go ahead, Gravy.
I just said once we destroy enough of the natural habitat, maybe the predators will go away.
The kobold arm appears to have been detached by a large cat of some kind, perhaps a panther, perhaps a tiger, perhaps a lion. Threat level 1.5. I'm sorry, Gravy, that is a greater threat level than you.
Maybe you just underestimate me.
Doubtful.
Uh,
Well, what do you say we do this kind of in an organized fashion and go together and sort of scout maybe like a couple miles into the forest in a sort of circular pattern around the lumber mill, or it'll be the front and around. It'll probably come out. Actually, hold on, I'll draw it. That'll be way easier. In red. So we'll probably do like this kind of situation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's behind us, and just in that area, we'll kind of start at one end and travel around.
yeah.
All right. Sounds good. All right. So we will start with exploring and finding out what happened to that kobold right after this break.
Woo!